So my behavior and my participation is consistent with my belief that this is an emergency. If my house were on fire, I would be alarmed and I would take the appropriate measures. And that is how I feel about the global HIV/AIDS emergency. There are 40 million people worldwide living with HIV, and that's not okay with me because it's entirely preventable. And part of what I love so much about working with YouthAIDS, in addition to the incredible opportunities they've given me to travel around the world and to see amazing, inexpensive, positive grassroots programs, is that I get to talk so much about prevention because it is entirely avoidable. We need communication, we need behavior change, we need self-responsibility, we need cooperation between governments and NGOs and corporations and private individuals, and that's what we talk about at YouthAIDS. So while it's a very grim world for the majority of the people with whom we share this planet, YouthAIDS allows me to be part of a solution. In Central America, I did what I've had the opportunity to do in Southeast Asia and Africa, which is look at grassroots programs that focus on behavior change. And we focus on the most vulnerable and at risk. So that's young people 15 to 24, as well as high-risk groups, transient workers, migrant laborers, commercial sex workers, and the like. And it was very special in Central America because Salma came with me, and I was able to show her a huge piece of my soul. And we already have a very special friendship and commune in ways that are really important to me. But that was particularly wonderful. And as I expected, she's great at this type of work. I had no doubt that she would be. Her humanity just fills up the room, and she relates to people, and she's so good talking about taboo and stigma reduction and encouraging people not to be ashamed when they talk about medically accurate sex education. She just rolled up her sleeves and got right in there, and it was great. You'll see a lot. You'll see us with a lot of commercial sex workers, both in brothels and out on the streets. A lot of those women didn't want to be filmed, so the full representation of our conversations are not included in the documentary out of respect for their request. But we spent a lot of time with sex workers. How did they get in that position? How they stay alive? How they maintain a shred of dignity? How many partners they have to have on a daily basis in order to keep themselves and their children fed, what their dreams are, how they could possibly get out of sex work. I mean, that's a big part of this work for me. I have a real thing about sexual exploitation. In the documentary, in addition to getting a glimpse of that, because as I said, the footage itself was reduced for reasons of respect, we visit with a family, a wealthy family. So there's a real contrast between a lot of the impoverished places that we visit and then going to see this family in a really wealthy neighborhood about their son who died of HIV-related causes. And it was really interesting because they're real influential and they are opinion makers. And when their son died, they chose not to be ashamed. And they chose to speak openly about his having been infected. And they even wore red ribbons at the funeral in their Catholic church, and they passed them out at the funeral. So stuff like that you get to see, which is, I think, really interesting. In a kind of reverse use of shame, they shamed their friends into wearing the red ribbons, you know? Like, what are you saying about our son's death? Well, you're attending his funeral if you don't wear a ribbon. And a fun thing for me was visiting a program, because YouthAIDS uses a lot of pop culture. So we visited a television program called Sexto Sentido, which always has medically accurate reproductive health content. So the young people, the families, everyone's got something going on, whether it's a first kiss or wanting to have sex with someone and wanting to know their HIV status first, talking about the importance of being tested. And that was great, because that's a super popular program in Spanish that gets life-saving information out to people who otherwise don't have access to the information, because it's a very, very closed society in terms of dealing with the reality of the body. So that was an exciting part of the documentary for me.